let me ask you this. Do you know any energy vampires? Yes, I said it. Energy vampires. This was not the topic that I originally thought I was going to be talking about today on this video. However, I was very clearly told to talk about this video, and I had an instance today happen with an energy vampire. Hi everyone, my name is Melinda Van Fleet and I'm an energetic and intuitive business and leadership mentor. And what I help people with so often is other people's energy. Yes, other people's energy. Because other people's energy can really be holding you back. And one of the things is if you are dealing with an energy vampire. Now, I'm going to preface some things here that I want you to take very seriously. Number one, please don't go around calling people an energy vampire. No. Number two, you have likely been an energy vampire sometime in your life, if not more than once. It could be very possible. However, there are people that are more chronic in terms of being an energy vampire, and those are people that you should really consider walking away from or spending less time with, or some other type of boundary. Those people. And do I think that they're intentionally doing something to hurt you? No, I really don't. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I thought I'd share an example. Actually, I'm going to share a couple examples so you can wrap your head around some context in terms of understanding what an energy vampire may look like and how it feels and sucks up your time and your energy. So a few years ago, I was friends with someone, and this happened on several occasions that we would hang out together, go out to dinner, go to an event, and she would end up pouring out these sob stories, and I would end up listening for a very long period of time. On and on and on, sob story, all the things that are happening, tragic, and just makes you want to just feel really bad for the person, right? So during this whole thing, you're listening, you're being a good friend, you're listening, and again, these stories go on, and by the time you look at your clock, it's been 2 hours of you listening to someone's story, empathizing with them, not necessarily giving advice, but more of an empathy energy. And sure as shit, the next day you get a text or a phone call or an email from the person, or you see them post something online and everything's fine, everything's great, everything worked out magically. They were able to get the new car, they were able to sell the business, whatever it was that they were pouring out their bleeding heart story to you, and you were giving them the energy of a good listener, of empathy. That's an energy vampire. They completely sucked your time and your energy, and they used it for their own personal gain. It just happens. I had this happen, now that I think about it, 3 times in the last few years, 3 times with 3 different women, where I have sat very nicely, very kindly, very compassionately, and listened, and the next day, really quickly, I'm not talking months down the road, I'm talking fast. Everything was perfect. The person did this, that connection happened, whatever happened, and everything magically worked out for them. And they just kind of move on with their day. So again, I don't think it's intentional. I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think there's any evilness behind it. The vampire word can be a little but it really does happen, and it's something you should be aware of in terms of protecting your own energy and your time. Because what ends up happening is when these things happen and you see them boasting all over Facebook that everything's solved and everything's amazing and they won the lottery or whatever ends up happening for them, right? It ends up creating a distraction for you. And that's actually one of the bigger pieces to think about as you are assessing if someone is really an energy vampire or not. If they sucked your time, they sucked your energy, and then it becomes a distraction. and you can't get it out of your head what just happened. You keep going over it and over it and over it as a mind loop, and you create like an overthinking pattern, which then can actually block you from the things that you need to be working on in your life or business. I actually had this happen again recently. Like I said, I know 3 just off the top of my head sitting here within the past few years. But I had another one happen where she was sick. I was a good listener, and I could feel that the illness, let's say, was as a result of something. And I felt really confident in that, knowing as an intuitive. And what further happened after she became well again, sucked my time, sucked my energy, sucked my compassion, sucked my empathy, was I realized that the pattern of what had happened to her wasn't really as a result of the other person that was involved in the story. It was really a shadow work for her, really a mirror for her that she needs to do some work around. So it's actually quite a fascinating little like pattern untwisting that I went through in terms of that situation. But I totally see what she did in terms of being an energy vampire. Again, I don't think this is intentional, so that's really important to understand. And I just decided I'm just not going to really associate with her anymore. Send her love, send her compassion, but I need to set boundaries, keep focused on myself, and keep going. So the person of the first story that I had just mentioned recently had something again. And what did I do to protect myself? As she sent me a text, I caught it right away. Awareness, number 1. Awareness, learn from your mistakes, right? And I just looked at my phone and I just said, you are not taking my energy. And I asked the divine to block any of my energy from helping her out in her situation. It's as simple as that. So we don't need to make a big to-do or big to deal about any of this, because sometimes it might be a family member and then you have to deal with it in a certain way. A casual relationship is easier to, just not really respond or not really hang out with them anymore or speak to them anymore. But sometimes it could be a little more of a relationship strain if there's someone that's a little more, let's say, close to you. And then you may have to figure out some different ways to create some boundaries. So I thought that I would jump on and share this. Again, it came up to me that this was what I should be talking about today on my video. So here I am. And if you have ever dealt with anyone like this, please feel free to share in the comments. I also have this book that has been on my bookshelf for a very long time, and it's called Own Your Energy. And the author is Alla Savernskaya. I'm really sorry if I messed that up. But I will put this information in the show notes. It's an amazing book. I'm extremely intuitive about all these things. So when I have breezed through this book before, I personally didn't pick up a lot of new information. So if you choose to purchase it, definitely, I always sometimes purchase books, and sometimes they are books I really need, and sometimes books on my bookshelf that I then refer to other people. But the reason why I'm mentioning this book is because there's actually a full-on chapter in this book about energy vampires. So if you don't believe me, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you've never heard of energy vampires before, there are lots of spiritual teachers and authors that have written about energy vampires before, but sometimes it's just mentioned in a quick paragraph, and there's not a lot of context or other tips and tools in the book. And this author specifically has a full chapter on energy vampires. So check it out if you're interested, but just sharing in terms of, especially with the holidays around the corner, this may be happening to you. And I just want you to know that you're not crazy.